Good afternoon, Muttonistas. A lot of you on my Instagram channel complained about my North American trip being totally East Coast based. A lot of truth in that, but that was because I was following Manchester City in the Club World Cup. Now they've been knocked out, yes, all their games were based in the east of the country. I thought I'd better redress the balance, and I've come out all the way as far west as I can go, almost, to San Francisco. One of my favourite cities, haven't been here for 20 years, but how are the Stouts? I'm going to find out in this vlog called The Stouts of San Francisco. This is part 1, join me. So Muttonistas, before I embarked on this mammoth trip to the United States lasting about 5 weeks, I was of the opinion that the best stout I would receive would be an independent. It actually hasn't proved to be the case so far, and this vlog actually will be pretty Guinness heavy, so maybe this is going to be one of our last couple of chances to try one. I'm at the Bare Bottle Brewery and Tap Room in the south of San Francisco, a bit of a way out in an Uber, but having reviewed thoroughly all the possible nitro stouts, well, there weren't many, and this is one of them. So Muttonistas, without further ado, let's go in and give it a go. Well, Muttonistas, quite a tap room this is. Pinball machines, good old school ones, and I think what looks like it's a Simpsons machine. I thought it was an old Space Invaders machine. Food stall, a pizza stall outside, as all good tap rooms have, and the stout, one of the few nitro independents I could find here. It's called Bareback Nitro, comes in at 4.5% ABV, slightly odd shaped glass, and it is actually a 16-ounce glass. Might not look it, but I've been assured that it is. Anyway, the head looks quite decent. A bit on the cold side, but this is a creamer, Muttonistas. This is no doubt about it. This is a winner. I mean, look at the lacing on the side of the glass. A little bit coffee heavy, as these craft brew stouts can be, because people who brew a lot of craft pale ales, when they move over to stouts, they often like it to be quite roasty, and that will increase the amount of coffee that you get when you taste it. As always, Muttonistas, I say I do like my coffee, so I'm going to say this is a winner. This is a great independent craft stout. Very sessionable as well, I have to say. Not sure why it's quite as cold as it is, but still, that doesn't matter. Being too warm would be a much bigger crime. And just to correct myself slightly, it's Saint Nitro. Now, there's no Muttonista meetup. The next pub will feature a meetup because I didn't get a response back from the brewer. I think on their Instagram channel, and maybe I should have gone to further lengths, although I was struggling to find the correct contact details. They don't respond unless, shall we say, you've already had a conversation with them. But anyway, they didn't seem too bothered about me filming. Although slightly disappointed that the head is starting to dissipate, maybe that means a bit more nitrogen is needed. Having said that, when they were pouring the pint, they did actually top it up because the head was too large at first. I think I would have preferred something in between what first came out and what did come out. But anyway, Muttonistas, I think if you drink these reasonably quickly, they'll still be pretty creamy. And I don't know whether I should be using the terms creamers or absolute creamers to independents. Obviously some of them like London Black for sure. Craft stouts like this, well, who knows, but I say it's a creamer and it's my opinion that matters. Okay, Muttonistas, on to venue number 2. In this two-part series, the Stouts of San Francisco, I'm going to feature 5 places in the first vlog and probably 6, maybe only 5 in the second. But before I do, just a little bit more about that bare bottle tap room. Apparently the food truck rotates every single day. Very interesting concept. I wish I saw that more in the UK. And, of course, they have a wide variety of different brews as well. Pity I didn't actually get the chance to taste any. I do feel very slightly wellied after those 2 pints. Did I get something stronger? I think it fitted the description of the pint, that the solution is to have a bit of food and a water break. So I'm going to see what I can get here. There's a highly rated Mexican just behind me, so I'm going to see what I can get there, because this is about as close as you can get to having food in Mexico outside Mexico. I've settled myself down here, and whilst I've had Mexican food a lot in the past, I've been to Mexico, it's a food that disappoints a little bit when in Britain. So we get tortilla chips, it's optional, and a little bit of, I think that's pico de gallo, and whatever their hottest sauces, or so I asked for. I didn't actually ever have a burrito in Mexico, but given the people who are serving it, people who are eating it, I guess it is still reasonably authentic, and of course American viewers will be very, very familiar with this. Well, let's give the hot sauce a try. Hey, that's not bad, it's got a bit of a kick. Might need another one of those very shortly. Anyway, let's try the pico de gallo. And of course this restaurant was empty when I was perusing it. It's more like a cafe, to be honest, although you can get alcohol here. And I ordered a bottle of water and didn't get it, so I might have to go back for this, or go back for that bottle if this is very spicy. As usual, it comes wrapped in foil, and it took me ages, Muttonistas, to work out how to eat shawarmas properly, which is to tear open the foil from the side and go round and round and round until you actually get to the wrap itself. And I am showing a very, very poor example of how to do this, but we have got there eventually. Of course, when you're actually ordering the burrito, you get to choose between all sorts of stuff. I went for grilled steak. I'm guessing it's like flank or chuck or something like that. And I asked for the hottest sauce. You get a choice of beans, choice of vegetables, cheese, guacamole, sour cream. I just went for the full Monty. Delicious, the perfect pre-beer or post-beer meal or snack. But I'm going to put the camera down now, Muttonistas. It's delicious, it's spicy, but it's very messy as well. Okay, Muttonistas, that was just the ticket. I don't know why I felt like I did, but it is important to remember, if you're having a session, be hydrated and be fed beforehand. Anyway, on to the Glen Park Station bar. I do think I've been here, I may have mentioned this earlier in the vlog, about 20 years ago. It does ring a few bells. I also understand a lot of people will have come back from their Independence Day family gatherings or friends or whatever they tend to do, and so I don't know how big a crowd I'm going to get, but I can say for a Sunday night I can hear a bit of a buzz of anticipation. Maybe not as busy as some of the pubs on the East Coast, and maybe later in the week it'll get a bit busier, but let's go in because I've had a little video preview of what looks like quite a good looking pint. Hi everybody. And I understand this is Mutton's pint being poured freshly as we speak. Always the most wondrous sight to see pints settling on the counter, and of course that beautiful hiss. So, while I'm waiting for this pint to settle, Muttonistas, I think my supposition that I've been here before might be right. This bar's been open from 1925, 1926 I believe, and it is a proper old school working class bar. I'll find out the gas ratio for you in a few minutes, but judging by the hiss, I'd say 75-25 or 70-30. Oh wow! Oh wow, I just heard, Muttonistas, it's 80-20, the holy grail of gas ratios. I'm dribbling out of the side of my mouth in excitement now. The pint is still settling, but I have to say it does look like a good one. Looks like a 20-ounce pint. And Muttonistas, some of my Muttonistas gave me a little preview, so let's hope it lives up to the billing that they've given it. In terms of San Francisco being an Irish centre, it does have a decent Irish population. Okay, maybe not as much as Boston, but that is an exception, I think Boston is. And when I used to come here in the late 90s, the early 2000s, I tended to find that the pints were actually very similar in quality to Britain, which means they were decent in San Francisco, but I wouldn't have found any absolute creamers or anything. Anyway, the time of reckoning is now upon us. Right, here we go. I really do have very high hopes for this one. That is really good, really good. I was hoping to call it an absolute creamer, but it's a creamer. The bitterness levels, again, something that plagues the United States, very slightly too high, but apart from that, it's great. The consistency, the cream, the temperature, wow, and of course the atmosphere in the bar, which is beautiful. So, Muttonistas, I'll be back right with you after I've discovered this pint a little further. And I might add, Muttonistas, when I get to the bottom of the pint, I might change my opinion, we'll see, because having had Mexican food, okay, and a bottle of water beforehand, possibly might be distorting the taste a little, but I'll give my final verdict when we get to the bottom of the glass. For now, I think a creamer. Of course, it's often said that you don't get the true taste of a pint of Guinness until you're halfway through your second pint or on to your third. Unfortunately, I cannot go around drinking 3 pints and then do an Instagram review and have a fourth at every pub. I'd be doing 1, maybe 2 pubs a night. But you can get a good feel of how the pint is here, especially if you're on your second pub, which I am. Well, okay, second venue after the tap room. Okay, I've just been told the gas is actually 75-25, not 80-20. The 80-20 did surprise me, but Given that 75-25 does seem to be available in some parts of the United States, I really don't understand why more pubs aren't using it. I mean, there was a fantastic pub in Atlanta which had casks, Belgian beers, all sorts, beautiful fittings, but the gas on their Guinness was wrong, and I hope that they actually changed that, because the manager or owner of the pub did ask me about that. So venues in the United States, get that 75-25 or even richer, which you might or might not be able to find. I do like this American concept of sitting around the bar. We don't tend to do it at Britain. We either stand at the bar, or more often we go to tables elsewhere in the pub. So that really does add to the character of the establishment, I think. I think people are watching baseball in the background. That's why they're getting so excited. And given I can see the letters SF, I'm guessing it's the local San Francisco team. It's improved, actually. Probably the Mexican food wasn't the best. I'm still going to call it a creamer, though, a very solid creamer on my American scale. And I'm going to roll the vlog on till tomorrow. I'm glad I've had a very gentle start after a torturous journey where I was moved on to another airline after my original flight was late. And then, when it came to replacing that flight with another on the same airline, American Airlines, that was late as well, so the only option I had was direct flight, which obviously I prefer. Anyway, Muttonistas, I'll see you tomorrow for the second day and second part of this vlog. Okay, afternoon again, Muttonistas, day 2 of part 1 of the vlog. Now, I've come out to the area around Golden Gate Park. I had been, as I said, 20 odd years ago here many times. I don't remember coming out here. The pub that I've been invited to is called the Temple Bar. Well, there's a Temple Bar I avoid in Dublin, but this is a bit different. Let's hope it's a good pint. It is actually mid-afternoon, so given that people have just come back from the Independence Day holiday, I'm expecting to see more followers in the evening, but that's good for the people who have turned up because they get more of me. Anyway, Muttonistas, we're just itching to find out how that pint tastes.
Gotta get you at Sligo next time.
Okay, here we go, Muttonistas, at the Temple Bar San Francisco. Remember, not the one in Dublin. And it's in the inner Sunset area. I did find that out from the Muttonistas, who thankfully have been drinking the pint into form for me. Looks like a pretty good pint to me. I'm not going to do the tilt test because I think it's irrelevant, but a good clean head, good sized head, slightly on the cold side, but then again I understand it can get hot around here. But if you want to go somewhere cool in the United States at the time of filming, I think I'm in the right place. Oh my goodness, that really is rather nice actually. How am I going to say this? It's an absolute creamer, this one, Muttonistas. Have the stars aligned for me? It's one of the first pints for a long time I've had over here, albeit on my American scale, that doesn't suffer from being overly bitter. Wow, this is spot on. Okay, I wouldn't call it an absolute creamer in Ireland or in Britain, but in terms of pints I've got over here in North America, this is the best I've had for a while. Okay, so this really is drinking well down the pint. Cream all the way down. And I'd like to know, Muttonistas, particularly if you're somebody in the pub industry, or if you're just a customer at some bars where you get a big variance in the Guinness in the United States, what you think the reason is for such variance. This isn't far off what I was getting at the Open Gate Brewery in Chicago. Not quite as good, but I don't think they've done anything special here. I don't think they've put on a fresh keg or anything. In fact, whilst the people involved in Instagram or their account for this bar knew I was coming, the barmaid herself, she didn't have a clue. But maybe that's a good thing, because I think I'm getting here the pint that you'd get if you were here. And so, Muttonistas, I'm going to finish this off and move to the next venue, which I expect to be a bit busier. But you've got a great atmosphere. You've got people who've come here without coming to see me, who would normally have a Guinness at this time of the day. And, of course, you've got some followers as well. It's a great pint, Muttonistas, a bit out of the way, but I'm so glad that I came here. Right, Muttonistas, pub 2 of day 2 of part 1 of this vlog. The most requested pub, the one where most of you claimed has the best pint in San Francisco, the Plough and Stars. Don't think I've been here before, I'm pretty sure I haven't. I think I went somewhere decades ago called the Starry Plough, and I think it might have been over the water. Anyway, sounds like there's a good crowd in here, and I can't really name the district even though it's on the other side of the Golden Gate Park. Just a thing about the last pub, lovely area actually, some hip Asian restaurants, reasonable prices. I didn't have time to eat, but I did have a little peek at the menus, and so it's a good area for a night out. And they have set a high bar, Muttonistas, at the Temple Bar, but if you're all telling me the truth and not pork pies, this might be even better. Hi everybody, hello. Well, a decent gathering of Muttonistas here. I haven't asked how far they've actually come to get here. It's quite a way, 20 minutes in an Uber from the downtown area, although I guess those who live here don't live downtown anyway. So, another 20-ounce pint, thankfully. Not as cold as at the Temple Bar, so probably Irish customers prefer the slightly warmer temperature, but so many of you have said this is the best in San Francisco. Let's find out. That is pretty good, actually. Ooh, it's definitely an absolute creamer. I can't work out whether this is the best I've had. Is it better than what I just had at the Temple Bar Inn? We'll have to find out when we drink through the pint. It's not always just about the initial gulp, it's how the head holds itself, how the cream sticks to the glass, and how it tastes at the end. Because sometimes, towards the end of a pint, you can encounter some slightly elevated levels of bitterness. So I don't like doing this, Muttonistas, but when I go a bit further down this pint, I'm getting a really good start. A good open mouthful with the correct flavours, but then I'm getting that excessive bitterness again. I think I'm going to have to downgrade this to a creamer, unfortunately, which might disappoint some of the gathering here. So yes, a great start when you start drinking the pint, but again the aftertaste is just a little bit too bitter. I'm going to have to downgrade it. It is a creamer for sure, just not quite an absolute creamer, which is a pity because it is a very popular watering hole and everybody's on it. Anyway, Muttonistas, one more pub to finish off part 1 of my vlog, the Stouts of San Francisco, and I'll see you there in a few ticks. Okay, Muttonistas, final part of part one of the San Francisco vlog. I've come to the North Star, which is vaguely in North Beach. I believe that used to be, or maybe still is, an Italian-influenced area. But I can tell you what, this place seems to have a bit of an Irish theme about it tonight. The music is a bit loud. I do hope that that gets turned down because I'm going to run into trouble if it's not turned down. It also does look like a pretty busy pub. Thankfully, there's a table reserved for me from which to vlog. Hi everybody, hi. Hello everybody, hello, hello, hello. Okay, Muttonistas, the North Star Cafe. Now, I would call this a bar rather than a cafe, but, you know, it's up to them how they describe their establishment. Quite a lot of beers available on tap, although from what I can see, it is generally the main, shall we say, mass producers. There's some exceptions like Sierra Nevada's available as cider, but they do also have stuff like Miller, Modelo and so on and so forth. Anyway, Muttonistas, it's all about the Guinness here. Quite a lot of Muttonistas on it. I hope it's not causing strain on the cooling system, but I'm sure it should be good because my Muttonistas have told me here that it is drinking well. I hope they've drunk it into form as well because I hope the video ends up on a positive note. Well, how can it not do when we're here in such a warm, convivial environment? And so many people have come out to see me. Thanks so much for coming. Anyway, I'm going to have another hydration break and I'll be back with you when it's time to review the Guinness. Okay, Muttonistas, the pint at the North Star Cafe. Now, the majority of customers here are being served with 16-ounce glasses. This is a full 20-ounce pint. I have a feeling that I'm being looked after here again, so I have to report that this way. Well, maybe if you come here you can get a 20-ounce, I don't know. But I'm just saying that some of the Muttonistas around me were given a 16. Anyway, in terms of the head, it does look good. In fact, it's the old-style lettering as well, which some of you prefer. The most important thing, I can give you all these tilt tests and nonsense. It looks a good pint because the head is clean, but you can only tell by tasting. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. Wow. Oh, this has really hit the bar again, this one has. I'm going to say this one's an absolute creamer because it doesn't have the excessive bitterness that some of the other places have. The temperature is all right, so the cooling system's not failing. It's not produced an excessive head. We will have a little reconsideration when we get further down the pint as usual. I'll be back with you in a few ticks when I've assessed the pint fully. Going a little further down the pint, I am getting some of that bitterness, and maybe the cold temperature is disguising it properly, so it might be another re-evaluation, Muttonistas. Let's see when we get to the bottom. I'm pleased to report that the head is holding firm. Of course, when I went to the microbrewery, that didn't really happen, which was a pity because it was a really, really well-crafted stout. Now, some of you ask me, when it comes to Instagram reviews, why it's just the initial gulp or the attempted G-split. It's because it's instant gratification. I've got to get that video down to a minute and a half, and I cannot possibly deal with the whole pint in that time. So I would actually say, Muttonistas, that these YouTube videos where I drink the whole pint in front of you are a more accurate assessment of how the pint tastes. And I thank the North Star Cafe for getting back to me quickly. I must admit this was not on my initial list, but I'm glad they did contact me because this, of course, is a nice pint and it's in an area where a lot of Muttonistas live. Somebody's getting me a slice of pizza. I really need it because after I have whatever I have for breakfast, I have no time at all in the day to feed myself. So thank you to whoever's gone and got me that slice. I do sometimes feel as if the eyes of the world are upon me when I do these reviews. When I go into pubs unannounced in Britain and Ireland, it's like me in the corner. Sometimes nobody knows me from Adam when I'm there. Everybody knows me here, so they are looking at my every gulp, my every word when I proclaim how good the pint is. And I'll also say, by the way, that there are a lot of other pubs in San Francisco I could have gone to. Some places just didn't respond to me. Some places didn't reach out. I didn't have much time to research this. I did my best. So if you say, oh, Mutton, you should have gone here, you should have gone there, it's much better here, much better there. If they don't tell me that I can film there or don't respond to me or ask incredibly complicated things like, do we do release forms, then I just can't do it. A bonus food segment. One of my followers went to Tony's Pizza, got me a slice of pizza which morphed into 3, and one of them is a thick crust and 2 of them are thin crust. So I'll have the thick crust first. There seems to be, well, I don't know what's on here, a lot of vegetation and a bit of pepperoni, I think. So I think the toppings and the cheese are absolutely wonderful. The only problem is when you have these really thick, and I'll show you again, these deep crust pizzas, it's like you're having a whole loaf of bread. I will come back to this and eat it off camera, but I'm going to try the thin crust one as well, probably a bit more to my liking. Okay, the thin crust one more to my liking, but wow, what a whopper of a slice this is. There's an awful lot going on here, not like a Neapolitan margarita. Again, pepperoni, some buffalo mozzarella, some chilies, well, who knows. Yeah, that's much better. I prefer the thin crust, but there's so much spice, meatiness, cheesiness going on there. Not pizza as I know it, but it is pretty good. That's my pick, Muttonistas. Anyway, I'll be back with you with my final thoughts at the end of the pint. Well, I may as well comment on how the Guinness tastes after pizza. I don't think this is a peaches and cream combination. Yeah, it's not the right mix, unfortunately, but Muttonistas is still tasty and just what I needed after a hard day vlogging. So, the final verdict as we come to the end of the pint. Well, again, it hit the mark, but the level of bitterness, it has increased. So I'm just going to say it's a creamer. Sorry about the excitement at the beginning when I said it might be an absolute creamer. Still a good pint, but again, the same problem as a lot of American pints. I'm going to leave it there, Muttonistas, so thank you for watching the Stouts of San Francisco Part 1. Part 2 coming soon, but until then, please remember, keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing, but most of all, don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.